When it comes to finals, nobody does it better than UConn. They are 5-0 in the finals. But these Huskies have been preoccupied with different finals, the ones to conclude the fall semester. Did they pass? They do have a professor who can be mighty tough to please, but you can't do any better than 7-0. Will South Carolina become victim number 8? Find out next on CPTV. Winters in New England just wonderful, as long as you don't have to do the shoveling. Tonight we are fortunately inside Gamble Pavilion and Stores, where the South Carolina Gamecocks visit the second-ranked Connecticut Huskies. And a very pleasant good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Picozzi, along with Megan Kumo. Thanks for pausing from your holiday shopping to join us. And Megan, I think Christmas has come early for Gino Auriemma. He has a team which is off to a 7-0 start and so far has a healthy Brittany Hunter.
Yeah, that is the biggest gift of the season for Gino and this team, because it really is a miracle that Brittany Hunter can even play the game of basketball because of that injury she sustained. But that foul line jumper she can knock down really changes this team offensively. And the way she runs the floor and finishes, and I love the big presence inside while getting fouled, can still finish. Now, doesn't play a ton of minutes, but she's so effective. She just loves the fact that she can play, and every time she's out there, she just plays exceptionally hard because she knows she's not going to go for too long.
Now, South Carolina is anything but healthy. The Gamecocks are 7-2. They've won 4 in a row, but they'll be without 2 of their best players tonight.
Well, yeah, and that backcourt has really been destroyed by injuries. This team is decimated because of these injuries, but now Dickerson will play tonight for the first time in a while. Newton and Billingsley are done most likely for the season, but what they can depend on is their 6'4" junior forward, and that would be Demetrius Adams. This kid is a great big presence inside. Their overall best player. She's worked the hardest in the offseason. She will give the Huskies a good run inside.
And it will be a reunion of sorts for UConn freshman Maya Moore. Tonight she'll play against one of her former high school teammates, Jordan Jones. In their last 2 years, their team went 62-1. Well, I think they may have a point there. Bob Picozzi along with Megan Kumo back at Gamble Pavilion, all set for the first ever meeting between South Carolina and UConn. Let's check the starting lineups first for the visitors from Columbia, South Carolina, the state capital. We mentioned Jordan Jones. She is 13th in the country in three-point field goals, leads the Southeastern Conference in that category. She's drained 26 of them. And UConn senior Mel Thomas needs only 2 three-point field goals tonight to jump ahead of Huskies legends Jen Rosati and Sue Bird into 4th place on the career list. South Carolina is coached by Susan Walvius. She's in her 11th season. She previously coached at Virginia Tech and in the Big East for a couple of years at West Virginia. And her counterpart, Gino Auriemma, has coached UConn to 5 national championships in his 22 years. And Megan, it will be an interesting night to say the least for South Carolina native Kalena Green.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's always fun to play against, a school that recruited you. It'll be a lot more fun though to go down and play there next year.
And UConn will do that, part of a home and home. Dennis DeMeo tosses the ball up. He's working with Tina Napier and Joanne Aldridge. The ball goes into the South Carolina bench, and it will belong to the Gamecocks. CPTV invites you to test your UConn trivia knowledge, win an autographed team basketball, and enter to win our grand prize in HD TV by playing our text trivia challenge. Stay tuned for tonight's trivia question. Gamecocks ball. This is Jones, number 33. That was Maya Moore's high school teammate, and what a way to start. In and out of the hands of Adams for a turnover.
Yeah, that's not the way they want to start this game. As we talked about the injuries earlier, they have to maximize every possession.
And the Gamecocks begin in a zone. Hunter getting the start for the 5th consecutive game. Her knee has held up remarkably well so far this year. Green down low to Charles, draws the triple team and finds Hunter. Long rebound on a hop. Jones will just let it bounce into the Gamecocks bench.
You say we just talked about Brittany Hunter, but you know, so much of the credit, too, has to go to the medical staff here. Rosemary Regal, the trainer, has done an outstanding job. Speaking of outstanding.
I wonder if Jones got the license plate there. Renee Montgomery, who once had 8 steals in a game in her career, picks up the first 2 points of the night for the Huskies as she picked Jordan Jones' pocket, and South Carolina right through the legs of Adams and out of bounds.
Well,
wow.
and the problem is Jordan Jones is playing out of position at the point, and she's forced to do so because of the aforementioned injuries. And there, the savvy junior guard just took way advantage. Yeah, she sure did.
And her lunch money. Green gets a step on Adams, left hand.
You know, Kalena is so incredibly talented, and she's almost too nice a kid. She could make plays like that all the time.
And she was recruited by the Gamecocks. Her home of St. Stephen, South Carolina, is 104 miles southeast of the Columbia campus of the Gamecocks. And 3 straight times, South Carolina, they not only turn the ball over, you wonder if they're colorblind.
Well, there, Tina Napier was wearing black,
and Tina
but
didn't
she's
have
an
very
official.
good hands, by the way, on that one at all. She didn't look that one into her hands at all. So Susan Walvius wants to talk things over. We've had 4 possessions for the Gamecocks, 3 possessions and 3 turnovers. Now, 1995, of course, was the year that UConn won its first national championship, and the most memorable play in that championship game right here, Jen Rosati, and number 3 for Tennessee, Michelle Marciniak, the famous crossover dribble by Rosati for the layup crunch time basket. And there's Michelle Marciniak, all grown up and in her 5th year as an assistant coach for the Gamecocks. Megan, you were on the UConn bench as an assistant coach that day in Minneapolis, and Michelle Marciniak, well, Jen beat her on that play, but she was a great player.
Oh, she was. She won the championship the following year, which she sort of got the last laugh, at least for her college career. But then she mentored Sue Bird nicely out in Seattle, and Sue got into the WNBA, and that kind of helped Michelle to realize that, hey, I want to coach.
First foul of the night will be called on Tolliver. Marciniak actually began her college career at Notre Dame and then transferred to Tennessee, where she turned out to be one of the great guards in Lady Vol's history. Green looking inside for Charles, can't get it to her. Instead, they reverse it. Hunter finds Charles, and she is fouled from behind. I think this is going to be Tolliver's second.
Well, and that's just more bad news for South Carolina, but you know, they are a tremendous defensive team. Susan Walvius likes the aggressive style defensively, but they're so undermanned because of those injuries.
Dickerson back in the lineup after missing 4 games with a foot injury. She's 23. Charles with the putback.
Just a nice extra effort there by Tina Charles to track down that offensive rebound.
She leads UConn in rebounding with 8 per game. Good look inside to Bergrova, but the senior from the Czech Republic couldn't finish. Thomas quickly the other way, and she is held by Dickerson, her first, and number 3 on the Gamecocks. Dickerson did not move her feet on that one, and Thomas went right by her. Tolliver will leave with 2 fouls. That guy looks like he's getting ready for the Meineke Car Care Bowl there. UConn football Huskies.
They're here to work.
Play Wake Forest. Thomas, quick catch and shoot. And where are the black shirts for the rebound? Charles tried to save it, couldn't get it. Number 4, Simone Kennedy, is in replacing Tolliver, so they got a whole lot smaller in a hurry.
Yeah, at only 5'4". Kennedy is short, but I tell you what, she is tough as nails.
Replacing the 6'3" Tolliver. Jones, a prolific 3-point shooter, shooting 48% from behind the arc. Kennedy, not sure whether that was a shot or a pass. At any rate, it will belong to the Gamecocks with 8 to shoot. Kennedy, a 5'4" freshman from Birmingham, Alabama. And Maya Moore will check into the lineup, replacing Hunter. So now Moore on the floor with her high school teammate, Jordan Jones. They were teammates the last 2 years of their high school career at Collins Hill High School in Sewanee, Georgia. Here's Dickerson. Shot clock inside 5. Someone has to let it go. Dickerson does. Rebound Moore. Outlet Montgomery. Thomas. Tough catch.
Who was that? Randy Moss?
Yeah. Oh, except Moss would have scored on the play. Thomas gives to Moore. Montgomery on the far side, trying to penetrate this Gamecock zone. Moore had it knocked away by Adams. Moore gets it back. Shot clock at 4. Moore for 3. Rebound in the lane. Bergrova deflected it and touched it last. Nothing has gone right for Carolina.
No, and that's a good example. Bergrova had inside position, but she's got to get a body on Tina Charles, and the officials will call over the back.
Of course, one thing that's a negative about playing the zone, it's a lot easier to get offensive rebounds against the zone.
Yeah, the matchup zone was not looking too great to Susan Walvia, so. But the matchup zone makes it a little bit easier.
Kennedy hands it right to Thomas, trying to get ahead of Bergrova. Nice catch-up block. Using her 6'6" frame to swat that one away.
Yeah, the nice long arm. She's imploring her team. She brings the emotion to this team. She's imploring with them to say, come on, guys, we got to get going here.
9th block of the year for Bergrova, and the 105th of her career. She's 5th in South Carolina history. Montgomery with the miss, and the rebound is pulled down by Adams. She's the 9th leading rebounder in the SEC. Gamecocks are 7-2. Adams hands to Dickerson, then screens for her, and Moore with the block. Her 13th of the year, ahead of Thomas. She's got Moore with her, doesn't need her.
Thomas was trying to slow up, and so Moore would get the layup and to tie up the defense, but didn't work to plan, but they scored anyway.
South Carolina has yet to score. Now they're going to get a couple. Nice feed from Adams to Bergrova.
That shows you how talented Adams is at 6'4" to put it on the floor, and a nice dish.
Montgomery, nice look inside to Moore. Charles with 1 putback, 2 putbacks, and she'll get to the foul line, which has not been a very hospitable place this year for UConn.
Wow, you're being kind.
South Carolina foul.
Maya Moore is tied with her UConn teammate Tina Charles for 5th place in the Big East in block shots. That was her 13th of the year.
As it disappears.
Right. Well, that,
I'm going to sit here with my phone and text.
I hope she's got something very warm to put over that outfit when she makes her way out to the car afterwards. Huh?
She's got pajamas to put on.
It is a cold night in Storrs, folks, and there are a few places in New England colder than Storrs on a cold night. As Charles knocks down the free throw. Now,
that must be because they don't practice him anymore in practice,
there are
right?
326 Division I teams in the country, and UConn is 323rd in free throw shooting. When Gino Auriemma found that out, he said, "You mean there are 3 teams in the country that shoot worse than we do?"
He was shocked.
UConn entered the game shooting 55% from the line. They're shooting 53.5% from the floor. It can only get better.
That's right.
And
the only
we're
way
off
is
to a
up.
good start, aren't we? Adams to Kennedy. Gets a step on Moore. It's almost like Moore lured her into taking that shot and swatting it away.
Yeah, and when you're 5'4", this is what's going to happen, especially against someone like Maya Moore, who has great timing and can really explode up in the air.
Dickerson defended by Thomas. Shot clock at 5. Kennedy with the shot clock at 2. Jones from about 35 feet, and not even she can make that one go. And she's a 48% shooter from three-point range. Montgomery on the drive-by. Moore with the putback. Couldn't get it to fall. And then Adams took the ball over the end line. Wow, you name it, and it's gone wrong for the Gamecocks.
Well, I like Renee Montgomery's just aggression, getting to the hoop before the defense is set. You got to stop the ball when you run back on defense in transition.
Well, Montgomery really hasn't thought shot much this year. She's averaging only 8 per game. Led the team with 13 plus a year ago as a sophomore.
But the team is so much better with her distributing the basketball.
There are a lot more options. Well, I don't know where the foul was on that one. Green tried cutting across the lane, and Adams wouldn't allow her to. And as a result of getting bumped off the play, the pass went into the photographer section.
What do you think his feeling on that pass was?
I'm guessing something like
utter disgust. Well, and you know, you're right. Adams did foul, I think, in that situation, but
what wasn't a well-thought pass.
No.
And Dickerson knocks down the 3. She scored 3,400 points in her high school career.
Well, and the funny thing is, yeah, she was number 23 in high school. She wore 32 her first 2 years, and then she said, you know, I got to go back to my high school number. It's paying off.
Yeah, Charles with the putback. There's another basketball player who wore 23. I can't think of his name. It'll come to me.
He was pretty good.
Kennedy down low. Bergrova on the turn, but she couldn't finish. Did the hard part.
Yeah, nice strong move.
Here's Soignier in the lineup for the Huskies, replacing Thomas. Montgomery on the right. Moore fighting for position in the post. South Carolina's played nothing but zone. They get it into Moore and out to Soignier. Charles will be called for the... No, they're going to call it on Carolina. Thought they might get Charles for the push.
South Carolina foul, number 33.
Jordan Jones, her first and 4 on Susan Walvius's club. Substitution number 25, Ebony Jones, will replace Jones, who looks a little disgusted and said something to Dennis DeMayo on her way off the court.
Fortunately, he's got a sense of humor.
Charles down low to Green, who fought for position.
Oh, it was a great post up by Kalena Green and a tremendous pass from the center, Tina Charles. Green was heavily recruited by South Carolina. South Carolina was disappointed when they didn't get her. Long rebound to the shooter, Dickerson. Was awfully quick on the trigger. They got a new shot clock, and she waited only about 2 seconds off that shot clock before she fired. Nice screen inside.
Green for 3. Rebound, Charles. Boy, Charles has missed some easy putbacks tonight.
Which ought to bring Gino. Actually, did bring Gino Auriemma to his feet.
And bringing Brittany Hunter into the game. Who knows? It might have been planned anyway. Kennedy off Montgomery's foot, so it will be South Carolina ball with 13 to shoot. There's Gino, who said of Brittany Hunter, you know, if she can play 14 or 15 minutes per game for us, why couldn't she do that on the next level? He's starting to pump up her qualifications for a WNBA career. She certainly has the physical tools to play at that level.
She's incredibly talented. It's just, and
smart.
And the only hard part though is they fly game day. I mean, there's a lot of back-to-back games, game day travel, and that's when your knees, your injuries actually anyway swell up.
Sharday Houston enters the game. 9 seconds left on the shot clock for South Carolina. Ebony Jones to Dickerson with 4. And Moore with her 3rd block shot, and that'll be a shot clock violation.
Wow, that was nasty.
Maya Moore has more block shots than South Carolina has field goals.
And again, it's just timing. And nice anticipation.
She's already tied her career high with that 3rd block shot in the first 7.5 minutes. Of course, Moore, needless to say, was also recruited by South Carolina. Houston.
Oh, what a pass.
Great feed. So UConn with a 16-5 lead, and Houston will foul Tolliver. And that's the first foul on UConn. It took 7:52 to get it.
And that's the problem. You know, we've talked all year how Houston's been in the doghouse a little bit. Makes a great play on the other end, and then it's just out of position defensively and commits the foul.
So at the line will go Tolliver, 6'3" senior who is right from Columbia. Susan Walvius told me this game will be a measuring stick to get us ready for the elite teams in the SEC. And my goodness, there are some elite teams in the league.
But, you know, it's so difficult to really. I know that their team is what they are right now, and they are such a different team with these injuries. And I know we've talked about it a lot here. But it really has changed the complexity here.
Moore and Hunter could not get hooked up on that pass inside. Only the 2nd turnover for Gino Auriemma's club. 20 straight regular season games. Fans in the house are in the spirit.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of those. Where's yours?
I left it at home.
Actually, that would be a useful thing to have tonight, just to keep yourself warm for the walk into the building. This is one of these nights where you're glad they're playing the game indoors. And it's only December what?
I thought about that. I thought,
winter hasn't even started.
I know.
Yet. Or so they say. Out of the timeout, Dickerson to Bergrova. Rebound inside off Adams' hands to Houston. Thomas back in. Here's Soignier, has more right.
Nice
Hunter.
pass.
Boy, did she seal off her man or what?
You know, both things went exceptionally well. It was a tremendous pass from Keisha Soignier.
I'll tell you, Hunter is moving, you know, knock on wood, amazingly well. Getting up and down the floor.
I know, you're almost afraid to say anything about it.
Kennedy with the miss, didn't hit the rim, so the clock did not recycle. Shot clock is down to 10. Ebony Jones, who's related to the Fridge, William Perry. They're both from Aiken, South Carolina. Dickerson has taken more shots with a couple seconds left on the shot. Now come on. They just got an offensive rebound, and with 20, and she did it again. Ebony Jones just took, what, 2 threes with 28 seconds left in the shot clock for each one. It's a good thing one of them went in. Tom, does she realize that when the ball hits the rim, the shot clock recycles? Oh, here's Kennedy. She'll walk it up the floor. South Carolina picked 11th in the 12-team SEC in the preseason poll. Tennessee #1, and of course the Lady Vols have been ranked #1 in the country right from day one of the preseason. UConn's been #2 the whole way. Georgia 7, LSU 8, Vanderbilt 20. Those are the 4 SEC teams. Turnover number 7 for the Gamecocks. Thomas with the left hand.
UConn does such a nice job in transition and getting the ball up the floor on the pass.
UConn has 20 points in the first 10 minutes. That's right at their average. They're averaging 81.4 per game, and that's number 6 in the country. #1 in the Big East. Shot clock inside, 10 again, and Jones is just, she got warmed up in a hurry, didn't she?
Yes, she did. She's had 4 threes in a game this year.
You're going to have to ice her elbow after this one. She's nailed a couple of them. More to Thomas around the Hunter screen. Now Houston sets a screen, and Bergrova ran into it with a bit of oomph. Shot clock at 10. Swanier pointing where she wants Hunter to go to set the screen. She tried to thread the needle. Well, it wasn't pretty, but it did get an open look. I think Houston will get called for the push-off. Number 2 on Charday, and number 1. Charles, Montgomery, and Green re-enter. Moore, Houston, and Swanier depart. Friday night will be an interesting one for Charday Houston because the Huskies are coming to her hometown against San Diego State. Game scheduled because Charday is from San Diego. We'll have it for you at 11 o'clock. So you're going to have to take a nap on Friday.
I'm telling you, there's no way I'm catching that game.
Megan and I will
can
not
DVR it.
We will not be making the trip, but you can see the game right here on CPTV live at 11 o'clock on Friday. 8 turnovers for Susan Walvius's team. South Carolina shooting 22%. For the year, they're a 46% shooting team. So there's a big difference there.
Yeah, and some of it I think it's a defense, and some of it I think has just been shot selection here. And I think that the defense early on kind of flustered them, and then they rushed into some quick shots.
Oliver, despite the 2 fouls, with some weak side help to swat away that shot, demonstrating why she's the leading shot blocker in Gamecocks history. That was her 156.
Well, yeah, and to lead the SEC at just about 3 blocks a game. That's saying something with all the great players who play in the Southeast Conference.
The 25th block shot of the year. Jordan Jones back in. Thomas, quick catch and shoot. And a good box out there. That time by Ebony Jones. Helped her teammate get the rebound. Here's Jones, and Montgomery showing some soccer skills. Kick save and a beauty, huh? So Jones will inbound on the side. Jones 4 years ago was the team manager. Wild scramble, and Jones, in trying to get the ball back, is called for the reaching foul. That is her first, and number 5 on South Carolina.
Yeah, you brought up how she was a manager, and she walked on the team, and now look at her. She's got strong leadership. She's vocal.
Right side jumper, no good. And on the rebound, we're going to get someone over the back. I think Kalena Green. Her first and 3 in the team. Next up for South Carolina will be a home date with Alabama A&M on Wednesday. Susan Walvius's club will begin SEC play against the Crimson Tide of Alabama, and that will be on January 10th. There's the schedule that's ahead. Of course, Clemson's always a big battle, an intra-state battle, huge rivalry in football, and a traveling violation on Dickerson, the 10th turnover for the Gamecocks. They're 9th in the SEC in turnover margin. Green, left side three. Weak side rebound Moore. On the curl, wanted to dump it to Charles, and Thomas nearly saved it.
Yeah, an ill-advised pass there. A little too fancy. As her coach just said, and I will paraphrase, just shoot the ball.
Yep.
I left out
I think there was
a little bit of color.
Perhaps an adjective there. That was the gist of the message. Jones heard that right through our headsets. Tolliver. Emily Jones is calling for the ball.
Something tells me she'll jack it up.
And Moore. So there's her career high 4th block shot. And she's got another 27 minutes and 42 seconds to possibly add to the total. UConn leads the Big East and is 7th in the country in block shots. They've got 4 of them tonight, and Moore's got all 4. Well, a lot of people are asking, well, who does Maya Moore remind you of with all the great players in UConn history? And it's tough to come up with one, but at least from a she can fill a stat sheet category, perhaps Svetlana Abrosimova is the best comparison.
And I've been talking to the coaches about it in the early part of the season, and that is the name that keeps coming up, is Sveta.
Because Abrosimova was so skilled at so many things, although she couldn't block shots like Moore could, that's for sure. Svetlana was a much better ball handler than Maya, though.
But they both have that scoring mentality.
Right. Jones off the inbound. Can't get it to fall, and Moore comes away with her 5th rebound of the night. That's her average. Montgomery trying to penetrate the zone. Charles sets the high screen and hands the nice slide move by Charles. She keeps missing chippies inside like she's trying to pad her offensive rebounding total.
Well, and the sin of it is, Renee Montgomery has made a lot of really nice passes here tonight, and she won't be credited with an assist.
Right. She's going to lose the assist title over that. Charles already with 8 points. She's been in double figures every game this year. Swatted away by UConn, 18 to shoot for the Gamecocks. It's the first time these two teams have ever played. First of 2 games for UConn this year against teams from the SEC. They will visit LSU on February 25th. For the first time in 15 years, UConn will not be playing Tennessee. Perhaps you've heard.
No, this is the first I've heard of it.
Adams, shot partially blocked, but a foul will be called on Charles. Number 1 on her, and number 4 on the Huskies. So going to the free throw line will be Demetrius Adams, who has really had an outstanding start to her junior year. A very versatile player, Meg.
Well, and the thing that I think is so cool about this kid, how much she almost had a triple-double in the game. Just 2 assists shy of it. That shows you what she can do. She can score, she can rebound, she can pass the ball. Not many 6'4" kids are that good at distributing the basketball to her teammates.
She's also a great student at Lee Central High School. She was the salutatorian in her class. Played on 4 state championship teams.
Yeah, vice president of the senior class, National Honor Society.
Those kids were so annoying. Those kids.
Well, I just heard about people like that.
You know?
I don't even think I knew any.
Montgomery knocks down the 3. You know, when your best course is driver's ed and all these other kids are
I was good at gym.
very annoying. Kennedy defended by Montgomery. Jones, what a shot. She's going to let it fire. Rebound Hunter. I'll tell you, she's taking shots from further away than the contestants during the timeouts here at Gamble Pavilion. Charles lays it up and in. Susan Walvius wants timeout. Tina Charles has played 8 games this year, and she has scored in double figures in all 8 games. UConn by 13 with 6:13 remaining in the first half. We mentioned that Maya Moore and Jordan Jones were high school teammates. They played the last 2 years at Collins Hill High School, and last year's team was ranked number 1 in the country. There's Maya in the middle row and Jordan up front. They played together for 2 years, Megan. They went 62-1, and the 1 was a loss to Christ the King. And on Christ the King's team were UConn Huskies Tina Charles and Lauren Dixon.
They just destroyed opponents.
And Jones also was an AAU teammate of her fellow South Carolina freshman, Courtney Newton. and Ashley Billingsley. Those are the two youngsters who are injured that we talked about at the beginning. There's what that high school team did. Now here they are, reunited on the same floor.
And you know they didn't play a ton of minutes because they were up by so much. I know Jordan played only half the game a lot.
Tolliver with the miss. Charles with the rebound. Already her 8th rebound. She's 2 rebounds away from a first half double-double. Montgomery with the pull-up. Last touch by South Carolina.
Well, Montgomery has found herself pretty open on several occasions. I mentioned before how she was penetrating there. She pulled up because nobody stopped the ball.
Hunter will be called for the travel by Dennis DeMeo.
Yeah, there she should have kicked it to Renee Montgomery, who was open. And Gina was saying that to her. She said, "Oh, I should have passed it. Sorry."
5th turnover. Brittany is really enjoying her senior year. She felt that when she walked off the court in Fresno when UConn lost in the Elite Eight last March to LSU, that she thought that was it. This summer she did an internship for a sports marketing firm in Los Angeles. She really enjoyed it.
Yeah, she's always wanted to be an agent.
She wasn't at all sure. In fact, she didn't think she'd be playing basketball this year. Adams with the miss, gets the roll, I should say. So Demetrius Adams with 4. Green to Hunter. She passed it this time.
Well, she deserves all the good things that are going to happen to her and are happening to her.
Catch and shoot from the foul line. Thomas with great hustle, kept the ball alive. And then Kennedy just reached out and grabbed Montgomery's wrist. And that's against the rules. Number 1 on Kennedy and 6 on South Carolina. And Moore will come back in and make it 7 on the Gamecocks. So UConn will go to the free throw line. As we mentioned, that hasn't necessarily been a good thing. Of course, they're not the first team to struggle from the free throw line. And like all teams, and you remember back from your playing days and your coaching days, believe me, folks, they practice and they try different things.
Oh, they
chart how many you make.
They have a manager at every basket with 2 players shooting free throws. And, and Gino has kind of joked about it, but sometimes you don't want to make too much of an issue of something negative.
Right.
It'll work itself out.
He says, we spend time simplifying the routine, but in the game, that routine seems to go out the window. And it really is. The best free throw shooters are the ones that have the simplest routine. Mel Thomas is the best free throw shooter on UConn, so she never gets to the line.
That's right.
Only had 5 attempts this year, has made them all. Jones, shot clock at 5. Bergrova sealed her man, but she didn't react quickly enough to the pass. Here's Montgomery, has Thomas left, instead Charles. Nice use of the left hand.
And another great dish from Montgomery. Anytime the point guard can penetrate that far into the defense, well, it only spells bad things for the Gamecocks.
Kennedy, shot blocked by Charles. That's the 5th block for the Huskies, and the first not by Moore. Nice pass, Green down low to Moore.
Well, and what made that happen was that Kalena Green jumped straight up and stopped on a dime and didn't commit the offensive foul. She easily could have done that.
3rd and 4th points of the night for Moore as we hit the 4-minute mark, and South Carolina is sitting on 16 points.
What?
A hold would be called on Montgomery. Number 1 on her, and number 5 on UConn. The Huskies have been demonstrating some outstanding teamwork in the early going. Charles with the use of the left hand. One of those guys you don't want him to get on your bad side.
When I saw Unreasonable Man, I thought, gosh, is Gino getting a little documentary here on CPTV?
You can say that. You played for him. I did. And you coached for him. Coach Megan was an assistant coach on the Huskies' first national championship team in 1995. Also played on their first Final Four team in '91. Dickerson with the miss. Rebound pulled down by Green. UConn has out-rebounded South Carolina 27-16, 28-16 now. And Hunter will be called for the push on the offensive rebound. Her first and number 6 on UConn.
And those are so frustrating as a big guy because you think, you know what, if I just would have made the first one, I wouldn't have committed the foul. We would have had another assist on a field goal. And yet none of that happens now, just the foul.
Jordan Jones was the SEC Freshman of the Week back on November 12th. Boy, Bergrova has had a tough time handling the basketball tonight, hasn't she?
Yeah, it's been a struggle.
Reach-in foul will be called on Payne. That's Jasmine Payne, her first and number 8 on the team. Payne is one of the 7 freshmen on this club. How about the year she had last year in high school, Mike? Did you see that? 29 points per game, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 block shots.
Not bad being MVP of the state tournament. State champs, 32-4 overall record.
From Bay Springs, Mississippi. Her brother Reggie Shelwood was a star at Jackson State, who ironically was the last team that South Carolina's women's basketball team played prior to this one, prior to their 9-day break for final exams, and beat them handily.
Well, this is always a tough game to play for a lot of teams because you have the long break, and then add to South Carolina's woes. We mentioned the injury. How about the
God bless
travel?
The airlines.
The travel day yesterday. They didn't get their luggage. They missed their connection, and so they didn't practice yesterday.
Why would a basketball team need their luggage on the road in the middle of the winter?
So Susan Walvius was hoping, well, maybe they would have fresh legs today without going yesterday.
Adams on the spin. Nice use of the left hand.
There's a glimpse of what this kid is capable of.
She was named the SEC Player of the Week a week ago. Oh, Green got hammered.
And she's grabbing her knee.
Oh, boy. Dennis DeMeo immediately signals for Rosemary Regal. She went down in a hurry, and it is her right knee, I believe, that is in a great deal of discomfort. She got hit pretty hard as she drove to the hoop. You never know with these things. Sometimes you just get hit there and it hurts, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are severely injured.
And you know, you just hold your breath, and you could hear a pin drop here in Gamble, because whenever, and it seems it's more women's college basketball players than men, but when they go down and they grab the knee, you just hold your breath and you hope for the best.
That's a good sign right there.
And there aren't as many people as that I could say that I've been around that are as great a person as Kalena Green off the court.
You just were chatting with her before the game tonight.
She's just such a great kid. I love everything about her.
So Rosemary Regal take her into the locker room. There was a lot of impact here, a lot of contact.
I mean, let's see. Did they bang knees?
Looked like her left foot skidded out, hyperextended.
And that's even more disconcerting that there wasn't any contact, because that means it was more twisting.
Well, we won't speculate, and we shall see. Hope for the best. I think all UConn fans, when someone goes down in a heap like that, will never forget, particularly the first of the 2 torn ACL injuries that Shea Ralph suffered in her, I think was her first game in the NCAA tournament against Lafayette, her freshman year.
It was in pretty much the same spot on the floor.
There's Shea, who was inducted into the Huskies of Honor ring last season. And then, of course, sadly, Shea, after working so hard to get back, tore it again 2 seasons later in the Big East Championship game against Notre Dame, right here at Gamble. In between, she won a national championship and was the most valuable, most outstanding player of the Final Four in 2000. 2:30 remaining. On the right, it's Payne. Draws the double team, passes out of Montgomery with great anticipation. He has Moore ahead of everyone. Soigné, pull up. Moore boxes out, keeps the rebound alive. Loose on the floor. Jones has it, held ball, arrow pointing toward UConn.
Held ball, UConn possession.
Just great hustle again. Renee Montgomery all over the place.
South Carolina has 6 field goals and 13 turnovers in the first 17:47.
Well, when you got a young backcourt and some young
Nice
members
love.
of the team. Oh.
Thomas to Charles couldn't finish again. UConn has had 40 shots already. First 18 minutes. They're shooting only 34%.
Yeah, they've missed a lot of easy shots inside.
Charles down low, didn't miss this one.
A little bit stronger that time going up. She's a little frustrated with herself.
She's got 14 points and 8 rebounds. Full court pressure. Dickerson to Adams.
You know, Tina Charles is shooting 65% on the season. It's not like her to be shooting. Although she's 6 of 12, that's still 50%. It's not bad, but you know, it looks worse when it's from such close range.
She's second in the Big East, second only to her teammate Maya Moore, and 5th in the country in field goal shooting percentage. Moore is second in the country. And by the way, you know who's first? Our old friend Liz Sherwood, former UConn player who transferred to Vanderbilt. Isn't that where she is, Vanderbilt?
Yep.
Shot no good. Rebound Charles, and looked like Soignier got bopped in the face there. Here's Montgomery at the 1:10 mark. Charles calling for the ball.
She wants it. She's working hard in there.
Instead, Soignier drains her 6th three of the year.
Well, again, in the corner, the Huskies wide open.
UConn only 2 for 10 from three-point range tonight. It has been, South Carolina has expended so much energy just trying to get the ball across midcourt to beat the trap. Adams to Jones. Adams on the right. Down low, Payne turns and is fouled by Moore. Number 1 on Moore and number 7 on the team. And that will send the Gamecocks to the line to shoot a couple.
He clearly didn't agree with the call, nor did the Husky faithful here.
So Payne will go to the free throw line. She spent her first year in high school at Bay Springs, last 3 at Stringer, and she is from Bay Springs, Mississippi.
And another freshman on this team, and she's one of those kids that just wants to learn and get better. Susan Walvey said she's like a sponge. She soaks up everything she can.
Moore with rebound number 7. About a 5-second differential shot clock, game clock. Charles sets the screen. Soignier goes around and fakes the pass and lays it in.
What a take.
Shot clock off. And I'll tell you, South Carolina, they can't wait till this half ends.
Yeah,
they probably haven't thrown passes like this 3 times in their practice.
How about this? The nice look. A look fake, a little pump fake with the ball.
Jones, here comes the trap. Jones abruptly gives up her dribble. And Dickerson starts to go, runs right into Thomas. Now UConn gets it. Let's see if Gina Orion, well, not enough time to use a timeout. Montgomery. So
and you know Susan Walvey is saying, I can't believe that didn't go in the way this half has gone.
Tina Charles a couple of rebounds away from a first half double-double. UConn killed South Carolina off the backboards, 33-17. The Gamecocks had 6 field goals and 14 turnovers. UConn had only 1 less blocked shot than South Carolina had field goals. It all adds up to a 43-19 lead at the half. It's the Huskies' final home game before Christmas, and they are coasting, leading South Carolina 43-19 at the half. I'm Bob Picozzi. Welcome back to Gamble Pavilion. Megan Kumo is standing by with the associate head coach of UConn, Chris Daly.
Bob, thank you very much. CD, the question everyone's wondering, any word on Kalena Green?
No word. I mean, she's in the training room. We have our doctor here, and we probably won't know anything conclusive until they take x-rays or whatever. So the only bad thing of the whole first half was that, I think, you know, we came out and struggled as we knew we would because we haven't played in a while, but I thought those last 5 minutes were as good defensively as we've had in a few years. Just the hustle, the great plays, it was good to see.
Well, someone we've talked all year, Renee Montgomery, not scoring as much as she has in the past, but doing so much, and I thought tonight she did a great job of penetrating and finding open teammates.
We're a much better team when Renee is active and involved in every play, and I thought she made a concerted effort to do that today on the offensive end and on the defensive end, and that's the difference.
All right, Lady in Red, Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Chris. Merry Christmas to you also. Let's take a look at the first half highlights. UConn entered the night the 7th best shot blocking team in the country, and they certainly added to that total. There's 2 by Maya Moore. There's 3 tying her career high. And here comes her new career high 4th block shot of the first half. Kalena Green dumps it down low to Moore. UConn blocked 5 shots in the first half. Tina Charles got the 5th. And Charles at the other end scored 14 points and also had 8 rebounds. For South Carolina, Ebony Jones came off the bench to knock down a pair of 3-pointers. She had 4 shots, all from beyond the arc, knocked down 2 of them. She scored 6 points in 7 minutes, and that ties her for team high scoring honors with Demetrius Adams. UConn had 17 more shots than did South Carolina, and out-rebounded them 33-17. And as we begin the second half, there's an empty seat there. The head coach has not returned yet from the locker room.
You know, as I was talking to Chris, I thought, you know what, I don't think, and I didn't mind talking to her a little bit longer, I didn't think I saw him walk by.
So we will keep our eye on that. Dickerson with the jumper. Moore starts the second half. For those of you who are joining us late, Kalena Green, who of course starts every game for UConn, not starting the second half because she left with what apparently is some sort of injury to her right knee. She went down in a heap as she drove for the basket. She was in a great deal of discomfort. She was helped off the floor, not putting any weight on the knee, by trainer Rosemary Regal as the Gamecocks get the roll. And as Chris Daly just told Megan in the interview, the coaching staff has no idea the severity of the injury as Moore knocks in the shot. That she's with the team doctor. Presumably she will undergo x-rays, and we probably won't know anything before we sign off tonight.
No, and hey, there's a good chance Gino Auriemma is in there talking to her right now.
Dickerson around the Bergrova screen. Tolliver draws the double team, finds Adams, and
nice
Moore
hands.
picks her pocket and has trouble with the handle herself, and then finally finds the outlet in Montgomery. Hunter, great passing inside to Charles. She's got 16.
And Charles is open for a long time in there.
Jordan Jones blocked by Charles, the 6th for UConn, the 2nd for Charles. And now here's a 5-on-2 if they hurry. Moore to Montgomery. Now South Carolina catches up. Hunter with the foul line. South Carolina is just completely out of sorts, Meg.
And some of the players look a little bit tired on top of it.
A lot tired.
And you know, sometimes when you're a little bit down mentally, you get tired a lot quicker.
And of course, it's easy to happen when you find yourself taking a hit early. Trailing at the half, 43-19, but you have to forget about it. Just try to build on what you can accomplish in the second half for the next game on Wednesday. You're probably not going to come back and win this. Tolliver misses the shot. Charles with her 9th rebound.
Well, a lot of teams play games in 4 or 5 minute segments anyway.
Hunter with the rebound, and she is hit in the head by Adams, her 2nd, and number 1 on the Gamecocks. Busy night in the Big East. St. John's with a win over Louisiana Monroe. That game was in a tournament in Birmingham. West Virginia with a 20-point lead on the road at Oakland. Remember, UConn played Oakland last year. Charles hits the shot. Cincinnati with a 13-point win over Central Michigan. DePaul with a 3-point lead over Northern Illinois first half. And early first half, Marquette trails Northwestern by 4, and over and back on the Gamecocks. That's their 16th turnover.
No word yet. I just talked to Sports Information Director Randy Press, and he just said, you know, he went back there. She's still being evaluated. You know, it is indeed.
Do we know, is Gino back there with her?
He said he thought he was, yes.
Down low, Montgomery to Charles. She's got 20 points.
We can say to Gino, it's maybe Tino play a little bit better when you're off the court. A nice left finish. She uses that left hand so well. I mean, she always was pretty good with both hands, but you know, when she had that shoulder surgery, she was forced to use the left hand even more.
Well, it's obvious that UConn has, I was going to say a little bit of everything, but they have a lot of some things. They have a lot of weapons. They can beat you a lot of different ways. It is an infinitely stronger team than it was last year. And I think, my own judgment, Megan, that maybe what's going to make the difference whether they can get to the Final Four and win it all is going to be Tina Charles, because she has the potential to dominate. And if she can dominate in the tournament, they're going to be a tough out.
Absolutely. You know, you win with good big guys. I mean, you need great guards, but you think back to all the great teams. You know, we talked a lot about the '95 team. Kara Walters, for one.
Who had a nice reunion, as you did with Michelle Marciniak before the game.
Yeah, Kara was telling me that they were roommates on some USA basketball teams.
Swanier with her second 3 of the night.
What a different team they are, with number 11 stroking it from long range.
Kara and the Huskies played against Marciniak in Tennessee in the Final Four 2 years in a row. Beating them in the finals in '95, then losing a classic game in the semifinals in Charlotte in overtime the following year. Foul inside on UConn. It will be on Maya Moore, her second, number 1 on UConn. In that loss in the '96 semifinals down in Charlotte to Tennessee, despite the loss, Lakeisha Sales hit one of the most famous shots in UConn history. She hit a 3 with only a couple seconds left in the clock in regulation to send it into overtime. But then Tennessee emerged with what turned out to be the first of 3 straight championships, and then the Lady Vols didn't win another one until last season, beating Rutgers in the finals. And if UConn is going to play Tennessee this year, it can only come in the tournament, and there's a pretty good chance they would only meet in the finals. Charles now with 23 points, and that is a season high for her. It's a 16-1 run. Last time out against Virginia, she had 18. That was a season high. Here's Jones. Feeds Adams. Tough catch. Gets inside Moore and lays it in with the left. Here comes Gina Auriemma back to the bench.
Adams can get the ball. She can do so many things with it. She's just got to get the ball. That's been the problem.
Moore. Catch and shoot in the lane. Moore has 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 block shots. Combining for the steal. Thomas keeps it alive. Moore. Swanier finds Thomas for the wide open three. And on the rebound, we're going to get it on the Gamecocks. There's Gina Auriemma, who's coming back, and as soon as he sat down, needless to say, all 3 assistants were asking him questions, and you can imagine what that's about. Nice look from Moore to Charles. She's got 23 points and 9 rebounds. Bob Picozzi and Megan Kumo back here at Gamble Pavilion, where the Huskies are having their way with Susan Walvius's South Carolina team. And the look on Susan's face says it all. She's told me we're not as strong defensively as we've been in the past, and that was a concern of her going into the season. Of course, the injuries have just robbed the Gamecocks of their depth, and the reality is, Megan, that situation may not get better before the season ends. There could be a decision made to redshirt. Very likely Ashley Billingsley will be redshirted. She underwent knee surgery in September, and it could be that Courtney Newton will be redshirted as well.
And that's always a tough decision, and when you're a kid, because you don't want to miss playing. But you know what? If you're not going to be completely strong and ready to go, get the year and get healthy and get that extra year back.
4th and 5th points of the night for Tolliver. Thomas right side jumper. She's got her 5th and 6th points. Thomas scored her 1,000th point last time out against Virginia. UConn had an 11-day off for final exams. Jordan Jones, boy, the Gamecocks would love to see her get going. It has been a tough night for her. She's yet to score.
Well, I don't think she's seen defense like she's seen tonight yet in her college career.
On the left, Dickerson, shot blocked by Moore, her 5th. And staying with it, Dickerson hits the follow-up. Huskies have blocked 7 shots tonight. Moore can't get it to go. Rebound on a hop, Jones, and then she inexplicably falls down, but good hustle kept it alive. Here comes Kennedy, trying to get something in transition. Bergrova to Jones.
Hold the screen.
Kennedy will back up. She played in the Alabama-Mississippi High School All-Star game last year and One of her South Carolina teammates, Jasmine Payne, was on the Mississippi team. Shot clock down to 2. Jones ball fake. Didn't even get to the rim. It's a shot clock violation. But Dennis DeMeo says it went off.
It did skim the bottom of the rim, and it did go off a UConn foot.
Well, then it's a good call.
You know, they're a better half-court offense this year than they have been in the past in South Carolina. And they're looking a little bit more comfortable here in the second half.
This is the first game of the year that South Carolina is playing against a nationally ranked opponent. But there are 4 teams in the SEC alone that are in the top 25. Tennessee, LSU, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. 5 Big East teams in the top 25. Houston to Moore. Rebound Tolliver. Here's Kennedy. Catch and shoot for Dickerson. Long rebound, and Kennedy sticks her nose in there and takes it away from Soignier. Back to Jones. Down low Tolliver. Couldn't get it to go, but she got her own rebound. And a fresh 30.
Whoa.
Jones still looking for her first points. And laying it up and in is Maya Moore. Well, we've been handed a release from Randy Press, who's the basketball media contact in the athletic communications department at UConn. And it reads, Kalena Green suffered a severe right knee injury. Imaging studies are pending to determine the extent, and she will not return. So I suppose the initial news could have been more positive, but again, folks, it can be anything from A to Z, so we're not going to speculate. But we won't know anything more tonight, that's for sure. Gino Auriemma having a little discussion with Renee Montgomery. And at the free throw line will go Bergrova, 6'6" senior out of the Czech Republic, played on the Czech under-20 national team in 2002 and again in 2004. Talking to Chris Daly the other day at practice, and we were talking about the South Carolina team, and she said that Susan Walvius, in her coaching career, has relied fairly heavily, more heavily than most coaches, on players from abroad. And Chris says it's not as easy to recruit players from overseas as it was before 9/11. It's just more difficult to travel, to get over there to see them play, to get them to come visit your campus. So a lot of teams have headed in a different direction than they used to. Of course, the notable exception for that for UConn, and we mentioned her name earlier in the broadcast, was Svetlana Brosimova, who's one of the greatest players in school history. Came from St. Petersburg, Russia. Adams, down low to Bergrova. Boy, she's just having a terrible time catching the ball.
That's too bad. She had worked so hard to get open.
Kennedy, inside Bergrova again, up and over
There
Houston.
you go.
Good use of her body that time. There's Lauren Dixon in the lineup for the first time tonight. The 5'4" freshman from Christ the King High School in New York, Tina Charles's high school teammate. Thomas on the left. Down low, Houston. Nice use of the glass. First points of the night. Houston was a preseason honorable mention All Big East selection, but her senior year has not been off to a very good start.
I can see it coming around.
Dickerson with Houston's hand in her face.
And, you know, Sade just doesn't have to do as much this year. Just let the game come to her. Play like she's capable of playing without overthinking it. She'll be fine.
Montgomery, deep three. Long rebound to 5'9" Thomas. And Thomas turns and does a nice job of getting to the foul line, drawing the foul on Adams, her third. Mel Thomas has yet to miss a free throw this year. Can she keep that intact when we come back? Coming up 2 nights after that, the UConn women will be in San Diego for Sade Houston's homecoming game. Huskies like to do that, particularly in a player's senior year. And UConn will play San Diego State. We'll have it for you at 11 o'clock right here on CPTV. So Saturday's not a school day. I know some people have to work on Saturday, but the overwhelming majority of Americans, I think, don't work on Saturday. So there's really no excuse. Come home, you take a nap, you watch some basketball.
When you have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, I would call them built-in excuses.
Well,
Saturday would be considered a school day for me.
Certainly be up watching.
I'll be DVRing.
Dickerson to Kennedy. Dickerson right side jumper, and Dixon at 5'4" goes up in the air for the rebound. She's a bundle of energy. It's been tough for her to get playing time when you have point guards like Montgomery and Swanier ahead of her, and Houston with her second basket of the night.
Nice finish inside by Houston. That says a lot about someone like Lauren Dixon. She could have gone anywhere in the country, and she chose to come here knowing who's ahead of her, but she just wants to be a part of a winning program. There, the strong finish inside.
Foul on Pace. Of course, Swanier graduates in May, so that means that Dixon will move up into the 2 slot, point guard. And 1 more year left for Renee Montgomery. Of course, that's the way you build a program. You keep your eye, you keep that door moving. As people go out, you replace them, and then UConn's done a great job of that.
And especially the point guard position, you don't want to have to force freshmen to come in and play. I mean, we could see how South Carolina has struggled with their injuries and trying to put young guys into the point guard position. Some of them are out of position.
Foul will be on Payne. Megan Gardler with her first appearance of the night, replacing Thomas. Swanier will come back in. Of course, when Sue Bird was a freshman, she tore her ACL 8 games into the season and could not play the rest of the year. And the Huskies never solved that riddle at point guard for the rest of that year. They tried everybody but you.
They knew better than to bother trying.
Outlet pass goes into the scorer's table. Turnover number 19 for the Gamecocks. By the way, in case you missed it, the starting time for the Hartford game on Saturday, December 29th at the Civic Center has been changed from noon until 7 p.m. The reason for that is because the UConn football team is playing Wake Forest in the Meineke Car Care Bowl that day on TV at 1 o'clock. So UConn wanted to give their great fans a chance to see the football game and the women's basketball game without going head-to-head against each other.
That's a great
University
move.
of Hartford cooperated, so it's a 7 o'clock game on the 29th at the Civic Center. And Megan Gardler with her first field goal of the season. She had been 0 for 7.
And she's happy to get that one over with. You would have expected it to maybe be a long-range shot, a 3 perhaps.
Jumper is no good by C.J. Pace, who was checked into the lineup. Long rebound, Dixon. She'll take it to the middle, has Gardler left. Gives to the trailer, Swanier. To Hunter. Ball fake. Uses the backboard. Rebound, Houston. And we'll get a reach-in foul on Houston. That will be her third, and only number 3 on UConn this half. Maya Moore back in. So that looking forward, as we always do, to the UConn-Hartford game. Of course, I might point out the change in starting time will mean that I won't get to go to the Giants-Patriots game that night. I was planning on changing my clothes during each TV timeout. The same wardrobe for a basketball game on TV indoors wouldn't work for a December 29th night game in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Maybe it's a blessing you're not.
The way the
going
Giants
now.
played last night, that is a blessing that I won't be allowed to go see that one, as the Patriots will almost certainly be going for history that night. They play 1-13 Miami this Sunday as Houston lays it in. And presuming the Patriots win that one, they will be 15-0 going into that final game of the year. And no team in NFL history has gone 16-0 in the regular season. UConn Huskies might be undefeated going to that one too. Well, there. After this will be their 8th win, and San Diego State's the 9th. So Moore tried to redirect it on one timing it, couldn't get it to fall.
It's a nice sign of the future, though. 2 freshmen there, Lauren Dixon and Maya Moore.
Inside the 8-minute mark. South Carolina last year went 18-15. tied for 7th in the SEC. They lost to Tennessee in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. Blocking foul will be called on the Huskies. UConn seeking its 11th 8-0 start in the last 14 years.
Watch, text, and win with CPTV's Text Trivia Challenge. Here is tonight's question, folks. When did CPTV first broadcast UConn women's basketball? Text A, B, or C to 57901 for a chance to win an autographed UConn basketball and an HD TV. Be sure to stay tuned after the game to see if you won. Good luck.
Out of the timeout, Maya Moore with the steal. 20th turnover for the Gamecocks. And Moore with her 9th assist of the night. That shatters her previous career high of 6. So Moore has 10 points, a modest total for her. Or I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong column. 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 blocked shots. As we said, she is what is called a stat sheet stuffer. Does a little bit of everything and a lot of some things.
And she does it in not a lot of time. I mean, she gets an incredible amount done in a short period of time.
Well, Tolliver got away with a reach-in foul there. Shot clock down to 5. Dixon's got a scoop, and she does. Rebound to Hira Williams, and she is rejected big time by Tolliver. Probably felt she was on the driveway playing with her brothers Isaiah and Ira Jr. There's her twin brother Isaiah is a wide receiver for the Maryland football team that's getting ready to play in a bowl game. Grova. Final exams ended on Saturday at UConn, so Dixon will be called for the reach-in. 15th foul on the Huskies here in the second half. The Hartford Hawks, mentioned, will be playing UConn on the 29th. Lost to the South Carolina team in the second round of the WNIT last year. And the Gamecocks lost to Hofstra in round 3. South Carolina went to the WNIT each of the last 2 years. Megan, they've been to the NCAA 8 times, but they haven't been there since 2003.
Yeah, they want to get back there, and I know they had much different thoughts about this season. And sometimes, you know, as UConn learned tonight, Kalena Green getting injured. How about that take?
Soigné with a couple more. It is a season-high 12 points for Soigné.
You know, you need so many things to go right for you in a season. There, good take by Bergrova.
And the foul. Foul will be on Moore. It's the first time Soigné's been in double figures this season.
Well, that's been open all night long, the dribble penetration, which is not characteristic of a Susan Walvius team, but Soigné's so quick with the basketball, turns that corner and just explodes to the basket.
And as we see, Keisha Soigné just moved from 10th to 9th ahead of Ashley Battle in the all-time UConn career steals list. Has a couple tonight. Is 192 for her career. Feeds inside Moore, tough catch. Gardler feeds Williams for the layup.
There's some unselfish play.
That's the 24th assist for the Huskies.
And think about
34 baskets tonight.
Think of how many they've blown with easy missed shots in the first half.
Dickerson with the miss. Rebound Williams at the 5-minute mark. Ahead of everyone is Gardler.
Nice job by Gardler to release. And she knew she'd get found by one of her teammates.
So Gardler's got 4 points. That's a season high for her. The 76 shots that UConn has attempted tonight, they're most of the season. They lead the Big East in a bunch of categories: field goal shooting, field goal defense, scoring offense, scoring defense, block shots, rebounding margin. They lead the country in field goal shooting and field goal defense. You don't win a lot of games when you lead the country in those categories. Soigné has tied her career high with that basket.
And once again, South Carolina did not stop the ball on the break. Wisely, Soigné went until she just couldn't go anymore.
Second personal, 17 foul.
Soignier with 14 points and an opportunity to establish a new career high if she drains the free throw. And this is only her second free throw attempt of the year. She made the first one.
Keisha Soignier, 1 free throw.
The Huskies, by the way, 10 of 12 from the foul line tonight.
Well, I thought for sure you were going to jinx that.
New career high. First look at Kylie McLaren of the night. And Soignier departs with a career high 15 points on 6 of 9 shooting, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Four years ago, when she was a senior at Columbia High School in Georgia, she was the Georgia Class 4A Player of the Year. Dickerson spins, can't get it to go, and Gardler came away with a rebound, and then McLaren was fouled. Who did we get there? Dickerson, I think, right?
I believe so.
Her second. Number 8 on the Gamecocks. So we go down the other end of the floor, and McLaren will shoot. So Gino Auriemma's club will take 3 days off. And what are they? When are they leaving for California?
They leave tomorrow.
They leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing like getting out to the West Coast. Although it's got to be sort of strange if you're from the East, the Northeast especially. Christmas time to be out in warm weather.
Well, I've been out there. I have family out there, and let me tell you, you get over the strange part in a hurry.
I think on a night like tonight, I wouldn't mind it.
We took a team photo on the beach one Christmas Day, and it was great.
Yeah, wearing shorts.
Oh, yeah. De Grova. They have palm trees out there. You can hang a few ornaments on the palm tree.
Yeah.
Williams knocked the ball over the end line. It will be Gamecocks ball. So UConn doing a little bit of everything. They've won 202 of their last 205 against unranked opponents. They're going to win this one, too. That is an unusual combination.
I bet it would be a lot of fun.
Among the 9,000 in the house, Jeff Adrian and Curtis. Curtis looks like he's past his bedtime there, the UConn men's team. We see Jeff has spent a good part of the game text messaging, and I'm guessing that he's participating in the win text. And,
there's no doubt
what's
about
it called again? What's the first W?
Win text challenge.
I'm guessing that he's already entered a couple of times.
Watch, text, and win.
Watch, text, and win. Jones, oh my goodness, her nightmare continues. She's 0 for 7 from the floor. And doesn't it seem like most of the shots have been just trying to beat the shot clock?
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing because you're in a rush. The most important thing for a shooter is to shoot the ball, try not to be in a hurry. And so often they have been trying to beat the clock.
She had a career high 20 last time out against Jackson State. Dixon hits the off-balance shot. So at the 3-minute mark, UConn sitting on 90 points already. They scored 98 opening day against Stony Brook, and that is tied for the most points scored in the Big East in a game this year, tied with Notre Dame. Irish have been scoring points in bunches this year. They're ranked number 17 in the country. Bergrova, rebound inside Pace, can't finish. Knocked over the end line by UConn.
Pace did a good job getting inside position there on Cassie Kearns.
Cassie Kearns, Jackie Fernandez have checked in, so everybody in uniform has played tonight. Of course, Fernandez will be joined next season by a high school teammate, Heather Buck, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Connecticut last year at Stonington High School. They were teammates there for 2 years, and will be teammates here at UConn for 2 more. The most highly regarded of the 4 recruits coming in next year, Elena Deladon, has recently been diagnosed with mononucleosis, so she'll be sidelined for a bit. Shot by Payne, no good, and look at the speed on Dixon. Has Fernandez left and finds her.
A great pass, and Fernandez running that wing knows that Dixon will find her if she just runs.
Second assist of the night. Dixon's already got 4 rebounds tonight. That's a career high. inside the 2-minute mark.
Point guard, right? Is that a fair word to use?
I think that's. I believe that if you look, it's like ensuing. Ensuing's only used with kickoff. The ensuing kickoff, diminutive is only used with point guard. It's only used in the English language. Last touch by Payne. Turnover number 23 for the Gamecocks.
And I see Susan Walvis over there. She was just clapping her hands, trying to be encouraging. And the thing you got to be careful of with a young team and with some kids playing out of position, you don't want them to get demoralized.
Right.
UConn has a way of making people look a lot worse than they really are. South Carolina is not the team that has played here tonight. They're a lot better than this.
Dixon, not real sure she wanted to bank that one in. The look on her face would indicate that she wasn't, but she'll take it. Yeah, Susan Walvius told me that she watched the UConn-Virginia game on tape, and she said, UConn is the best team that I've seen so far this year. Keep in mind that they haven't played Tennessee yet. They will, but I'm sure she has seen Tennessee play on TV, so you can take that for what it's worth. It's so early in the season, none of those things make any difference.
Right, and
anyway.
then, God willing.
Polls don't matter.
Well, and think about Kalena Green's injury, too. What if she's done? That changes things considerably. I mean, again, we don't want to speculate, but the foul there on Kylie McLaren. Well, the interesting thing that Susan Walvius did tell me about this UConn team, Bob, and she said, their chemistry and the intangibles, every time a player goes down, the other 4 teammates go out and pick them up without fail. And she said, Gino has done a great job, but in this day and age, I don't know how you do that because kids have changed. They do text messaging. There's not as much interpersonal
Some
communication.
of them do it during the game.
They do. And speaking of, let's watch Text and Win. CPTV's Text Trivia Challenge. When did CPTV first broadcast UConn women's basketball, folks? Text A, B, or C to 57901 for a chance to win an autographed UConn basketball and an HD TV. Stay tuned after the game to see if you've won.
Grova from the free throw line, so there's about 0.2 of a second different shot clock, game clock. So UConn at 95. Again, remember they scored 98, I mentioned opening day. They never pay attention to those things. In fact, they had a chance to score 100 on opening day, and as they always do in the last possession with the shot clock off, they just held the ball on a hip midcourt.
Yeah, there's no need. I mean, Gino's always felt there's no need to rub it in.
So at the free throw line, we'll go to Hira Williams, and Gino Auriemma's club will hop on a plane and fly to Southern California, San Diego, where it's always somewhere between 75 and 85 degrees with no humidity.
Well, that's the place to live.
And you don't have to. You're preaching to the choir there. Sharday Houston does live there.
She's found herself here, though, the last 4 winners.
Right. San Diego State in the Mountain West. So it's the second Mountain West team UConn will play this year. They already played BYU. So UConn will settle for 97 points in a convincing win over South Carolina in the first ever meeting between the Huskies and the Gamecocks. UConn is 8-0 for the 11th time in the last 14 years. They've now won 203 consecutive home games against unranked opponents, and they held South Carolina to 21% shooting. The last time a UConn opponent shot under 25% was Georgetown, December 7th, 2006. That was a day that lived in Hoya's infamy. And South Carolina shot 21%. UConn wins 97-39.